I had never ghosts, or demons, or cursed buildings. Not until the night we broke into Black Hollow Penitentiary, a prison so notorious that even its ruins were avoided by everyone in Boone County. People said it was shut down in 1978, after a riot killed 27 inmates and 3 guards. But there was always something off about that story, because the files were incomplete. The cell block blueprints didn't match the physical structure, and no one could explain why one specific area, CellBlockD, was completely sealed off, with no listed reason. They said the place wasn't haunted. They said it was possessed. We were there to film a documentary. My friend, Leah, ran a YouTube channel, Dead End Files, that explored real haunted places, not your cheesy jump scare stuff. She dug deep, researched every detail, cross-checked sources. She was fearless, and now she wanted to be the first to explore CellBlockD. There were 5 of us: Leah, her cameraman Ron, our audio tech Jasmine, her brother Micah, and me, Daniel, a freelance writer with more curiosity than common sense. We arrived just before midnight. The prison loomed like a carcass of concrete and rust, covered in graffiti, vines choking every window. Roof caved in at parts like something had clawed its way out. But CellBlockD was untouched. Not a single tag on the steel doors, no shattered windows, not even dust on the handles, as if no one dared come near it. That should have been our first sign. We entered through the breach in the chapel wall, flashlight beams slicing through years of rot and silence. Most of the prison was what you'd expect: decay, silence, the occasional burst of wildlife. But when we reached the sealed wing, we froze. CellBlockD had been chained shut with 6 different locks. Each one had a faint symbol etched into the metal odd curves. Crosses, sigils. Leia grinned, holding up the bolt cutters. Let's see what they didn't want us to find. One by one, the locks fell, and the door creaked open. The air changed. Instantly, it wasn't just cold, it was thick, like we were stepping into a vacuum. Jasmine clutched her chest. "I feel like I'm underwater," she whispered. Inside, the cells lined both walls, 6 on the left, 6 on the right, 12 total, all empty, all pristine. No blood, no trash, no signs of a riot. It was like no one had ever used this wing, or like it had been ... erased. Then Micah frowned and pointed. "Wait, that can't be right. Look at the numbers." We checked again. They were all there. 1 to 6 on the left, 8 to 13 on the right. Cell 7 was missing. The wall between 6 and 8 was solid, seamless, like it had always been that way. But then I noticed something strange. When we stood still and listened, really listened, we could hear it. A low hum, pulsing, deep, coming from inside the wall. Leah moved closer, brushing her hand along the concrete, and then she screamed. We rushed over. She was clutching her hand, shaking. It was hot, burning hot. She gasped, like something's ... alive in there. That's when Ron's camera, which had been recording the entire time, froze. The screen glitched, flickered, and then showed us something that wasn't real, or wasn't supposed to be. On the screen, between cells 6 and 8, there was a door, a rusted metal door, cracked open just enough to show darkness behind it. But when we looked up at the real wallet, wasn't there. Jasmine reached into her backpack, pulling out the old construction schematics she'd found from the Boone County archives. We unfolded them on the floor and held our breath. There it was, Cell 7, drawn in faint red ink, labeled only with a word none of us recognized: Drexel. The hairs on my arms stood up. Mika stared. "What the hell does that mean?" No one answered, but we all felt it, a deep, rising pressure from inside the wall, like something old and hateful was waking up. Leah grabbed her GoPro and whispered, "We have to find a way in." Just then, the hallway lights, which shouldn't have had power, flickered on one by one. Not LED, not fluorescent, old hospital bulbs, yellow and humming. We turned to run, but the door we'd come through had vanished. Not just closed, gone. The hallway was longer, now impossible, endless, and the hum was turning into whispers. We were no longer in Black Hollow, we were inside Cell 7's world, and it was very glad to have us. We should have never. That was the only thing I could think as we stumbled down the impossible corridor walls, breathing like lungs, lights flickering with unnatural rhythm, whispers crawling under our skin, and still, no sign of the exit. Leah clutched her GoPro like it could protect her. Ron kept turning in slow circles, camera rolling, mouth slightly open. Micah was whispering prayers in Spanish. Jasmine had gone quiet, too quiet. "Jazz?" I asked. She didn't respond. I turned and my heart plunged. She was facing the wall, head tilted, eyes wide, fingertips tracing invisible patterns across the concrete. "Jazz, what are you?" She spun around, grinning, but it wasn't her smile. It was ... wrong, too wide, lips trembling like something inside her was puppeteering the muscles. "Threxel remembers," she said, voice low and rattling. The door was sealed but not forgotten, and then she screamed a horrible, piercing sound and collapsed. We dragged her to the corner of the hallway, which felt warped, like the building didn't obey architecture anymore. Leah dropped to her knees, checking Jasmine's pulse. "She's alive." "Barely." I knelt beside her. She said something. "Threxel remembers." Leah nodded. Same name from the blueprint. Whatever Cell 7 was, it wasn't a normal prison cell. Micah's voice shook. "That name, it's not human. It doesn't even sound real." That's when Ron, still recording, gasped. "Guys, ... look." He turned the camcorder around and showed us the feed. We saw ourselves, all 5 of us, but behind us, standing against the blank wall, where Cell 7 should have been, ... was a figure. It was impossibly tall, wrapped in old inmate rags. Its face was a mass of stitched skin, like someone had tried to hide its identity by sealing every feature shut. But it wasn't the look that made us tremble. It was the way it watched us, ... without eyes, ... through the screen. It slowly raised its arm long and skeletal and pointed directly at Jasmine's body. Then the feed cut to static. When we looked up ... the hallway was empty. Whatever had been standing there was gone, but the smell remained. Rotting iron, sulfur, ashes, the same scent as the air near Cell 7's wall. "We need to get out," Ron hissed. "Now." But there was no door, just more hallway. The building stretched, shifted, breathed around us like a living organism. "None of this makes sense," Leah muttered. We walked 20 feet in, and now we're trapped in a maze that shouldn't exist. Micah touched the concrete wall. "What if it's not the building?" I stared at him. "What do you mean?" He looked sick. "What if we're not in the prison anymore? What if ... Cell 7 isn't a place? What if it's a threshold?" The words hung in the air. Leah whispered, "A door into something else." Jasmine suddenly gasped awake, her eyes bloodshot, mouth trembling. She grabbed my wrist, nails digging in. "Don't say its name. Don't speak it. Every time we do, it hears us." We went still. "Threx," Leah began, but Jazz lunged and slapped her. "No," she cried, shaking. "It's feeding on it. Every word brings it closer. It knows we're here now." We stared at her like she'd lost her mind, but then we heard it again. That hum, deeper now, turning into chanting. Faint. INDECIPHERABLE, coming from behind the wall that shouldn't exist, and this time, the wall had a crack. A jagged, vertical fracture had formed between cells 6 and 8. Black mist oozed out like smoke from a dying fire. Ron stepped forward, camera lifted, mesmerized. "Ron, don't," I warned. He didn't answer. He reached out and touched the crack. It opened like skin splitting, and from within, something reached out, a hand, charred, twisted, missing fingernails. It gripped Ron's wrist. He screamed, dropping the camera. But he couldn't pull away. The wall sucked him in less than 5 seconds. Ron was gone, dragged screaming into the darkness. The cracks sealed behind him, like he'd never existed. Leah shrieked and ran to the wall, pounding her fists against it. No, we have to get him out. There's no out, Jasmine sobbed. We're already inside it. I pulled Leah back, heart racing. The walls were pulsing faster now, the lights dimming to blood red, and on every door cells 1 to 6 and 8 to 13 letters were appearing, carved in slowly by unseen hands. We watched in horror as the letters spelled, "Welcome to your own cell." CV and Jasmine collapsed. Again, Micah was hyperventilating. I turned to Leah and whispered, "This place is rearranging itself." She nodded, shaking, teeth chattering. No, it's not. It's claiming us. Then, without warning, all the doors slammed open at once. Inside each one was a mirror, and in each mirror, we saw ourselves, except twisted, dead-eyed, skin gray. Some had no mouths, some had no eyes. One version of me was hanging from a ceiling pipe by barbed wire. Another was smiling with his jaw torn loose. The reflections moved. Even when we didn't, Leah. Mira self leaned forward and whispered something, and Leah screamed the same scream Ron had made. We ran. Down the endless corridor, past the doors, past the echoes of our own damnation, but the hallway bent upward, like we were running in a spiral. We didn't know if we were going in circles, or if the prison was alive and guiding us, until we stopped at a familiar wall. The original Cell 7 wall, only now, the crack was wide open, waiting, breathing, inviting, and somewhere deep inside that blackness. Ron screamed again, but this time, he was laughing too. He was laughing too. We stood. It pulsed like a wound in the world. Black mist swirled from it in tendrils, wrapping around our ankles like it was deciding if we should enter, or if we already had. Ron's voice had come from inside, laughing, screaming. Both at once, Jasmine whimpered, "He's not alive. Not really. That thing, it wears you like a coat." Mika's hands trembled. "We should run. Just turn around. There has to be a way out." "There's no out," Jasmine croaked, shaking her head. "Not anymore. It found us the moment we stepped into its story." I turned to Leah. "We need to move." She didn't look at me. She was staring into the black opening. Her lips moved soundlessly. "Leah." I touched her shoulder. She looked at me and her eyes were bleeding. Inside. It was not like any space I've ever known. There were no walls, no floor, no ceiling, just an expanse of thick darkness that swallowed sound and bled memory. We walked forward, though there was no surface beneath our feet. Behind us, the crack vanished, gone. We were inside Cell 7, now. The real one. The one never meant to be opened. Shapes floated through the dark. Not objects. Not beings. Just WRONGNESS. Geometries that bent space. Impossible colors that hurt to look at. Eyes with no bodies. Mouths with no faces. Some forms twitched as we passed, whispering words not meant for the living. Confess the hunger. Speak. The silence. THRECULL remembers. Micah fell to his knees, clutching his head. My thoughts seized inside them. He screamed and ripped the crucifix from his neck, threw it into the void. It vanished like it had never existed. Then we saw Ron. Sort of. He was suspended in the air, limbs bent backward, head lolling, skin gray and translucent like wax. His eyes opened, but they weren't his eyes anymore, just swirling black pits, like someone had burned out his soul and stuffed the holes with ashes. He smiled, his mouth opened, far wider than it should have. He saw into the deep. And now the deep is inside him. Leah whispered. Ron. He didn't blink. I remember your skin. And then he lunged, Micah screamed as Ron tackled him, both of them falling upward into the void. There was no gravity, just a slow, grotesque tumble as Ron's jaw unhinged, stretching longer and longer. Micah punched him once, twice and floated backward, but Ron grabbed his leg and bit deep into his calf. Micah howled. Blood sprayed into the darkness and froze mid-air. Jasmine grabbed Micah and yanked him free. I swung the flashlight I still carried and smashed it into Ron's temple. The glass shattered. Ron's skull cracked open, but he didn't fall. He just smiled wider. It won't be enough. We ran, or drifted, or were pulled. The space warped as we moved, distorting in sickening spirals. Doors appeared, hundreds, maybe thousands floating in the dark, each with numbers etched in flesh. Some doors breathed, some were crying. Leah stopped at one marked 13. "It's a loop," she whispered. "Every version of this place repeats. One cell feeds the next." "What's behind them?" I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned the handle. Behind door 13 was ... us. But not now, from earlier. Walking down the prison corridor before Ron vanished, before Jasmine collapsed. Watching the scene play out again, like a memory trapped in a fishbowl. But something was different. In the mirror version ... we were being watched from behind. A tall, shifting figure made of smoke and teeth loomed in every reflection, in every shadow. It had been with us all along. Jasmine slammed the door shut. "They're not memories, they're blueprints. It's building new versions of us." "Why?" Leah asked, her voice hoarse. Jasmine looked up at us with pure terror. "Because Threxel doesn't just want your body, it wants your story, your fears, your sins, your lies." "What lies?" Micah asked, bleeding heavily, barely standing. Jasmine whispered, "Whatever you've buried, ... it's coming now." Then the walls bled. The black space around us peeled open like skin, revealing corridors, hundreds of them branching out like veins. And from them, they came ... us. Not twisted reflections, not illusions, but copies. Exact, screaming, crying, broken. Copies of us. One of me had no tongue. Another Leah dragged a noose. Another Jasmine walked on broken legs, whispering her own name like a mantra. They were all screaming different versions of our deaths. Ron was among them. Dozens of him, each more mutilated than the last. We ran toward the Centaura glowing red circle, suspended in the void like a beating heart, and in the middle of it, ... was the original cell door. Metal, black ancient chains, wrapped around it, covered in symbols carved deep burning white hot. Threxel's prison. Leah turned to us. "It's still locked." I stared at the door. "What happens if we open it?" She looked at me, dead serious. "We stop it, or we set it free." The horde of copies drew closer. Hundreds of twisted selves, screaming, laughing, bleeding. Leah stepped forward. She took the keys we found on the blueprint, slid them into the lock, and whispered, "Remember me, just in case." The door clicked, and the world exploded. The reality tore apart. The sound wasn't a sound, it was a pressure. A reverse scream that collapsed inward like lungs exhaling their last breath in reverse. The void shivered. Every shape, every memory, every breath we had, taken inside the prison, shattered like brittle glass. Leah collapsed to her knees. Jasmine screamed. Micah covered his ears and sobbed, blood leaking from his nose and eyes. I stood frozen, eyes locked on the impossible thing beyond the door. Threxel was awake. At first there was only shape, no form, no color, just wrongness. A silhouette that shifted with every blink. Sometimes it was vast, skeletal, crowned with twisted horns. Other times it was a child sobbing in the fetal position, its mouth filled with human teeth. Then a woman with no eyes. Then an insect with a face like my own. It bled stories. "You are the ones who remembered me." Its voice wasn't heard, was felt inside every bone. You unlocked the final door. You saw me before the world was meant to, Jasmine whispered through tears. We never meant to, we didn't know, but you did. The thing stepped forward, but there was no floor. It moved through our memories. Each step it took crushed a part of our past. I saw my childhood bedroom twist and rot. My father's face turn to wax and melt. My own name peeled off my soul like dead skin. Leah clutched my hand. Don't let go, she said, but her voice was far away, like she was already fading. Threxel reached out a limb, or maybe it was a tongue, or a branch, or a touched Micah. Micah screamed like a newborn being flayed alive. His body convulsed. Black veins surged across his flesh. His skin blistered, then peeled away in layers. Eyes rolled back. He spoke backward, gibberish, and blood bubbling up his throat. Then he was silent, standing upright, smiling. Not Micah anymore. Threxel had warned him. Micah's body lunged for Jasmine. She dodged and ran, but Threxel's whispers filled the void. You should have died in the fire, Jasmine. You should have burned with the rest. She stumbled. How does it know? I gasped. Leah's voice cracked. It doesn't read your mind. It reads your truth. We had no weapons, no exits. The only thing we had was the cell door, still open, still humming, and inside it a spiral staircase descending down further, always further. We ran for it. Micah Threxel chased us, moving with jerks like a puppet underwater. Every step he took echoed with the laughter of children, women sobbing, men begging for death. Jasmine reached the stairs first, then me, then Leah. We didn't look back. The spiral twisted down forever. Each level was worse. Level 1. A hospital corridor filled with gurneys of people missing their faces. Machines beeped in rhythm with screams. Level 2. A forest of hanging bodies. Each one yourself, dying over and over, eyes watching you as you passed. Level 3. A nursery, where infants whispered ancient chants and opened their mouths too wide. The staircase never stopped. But we kept going, because behind us, he was coming. At level 7 we stopped. Jasmine couldn't go anymore. Her eyes were pure black now, her voice barely human. I can hear them, she murmured. The other prisoners, the ones before us, they never escaped. They're still, still here, Her hand pointed to a cell door, at the bottom of the next. Landing, blood pulsed from underneath it, seeping between cracks in the floor, like the cell itself was bleeding. I opened the door, and saw the origin of the nightmare. The cell contained a stone altar, ancient and wet, with centuries of dark fluid. Symbols carved in its face pulsed like open wounds, and chained to the wall behind it was a man, or what used to be one. Eyes sewn shut, mouth wired open, flesh covered in sigils made of bone. He stirred when we entered. Leah gasped. That's the first, the original prisoner, the one they built the entire facility to hold. I stepped closer. His lips cracked, and he whispered, he wasn't born here. He was summoned. Jasmine screamed as Micah appeared in the doorway, but he didn't attack. He just stared, and behind his eyes, Threxel watched. You found my witness, the first mouth, the failure. Leah trembled. Why did they trap you? Why not kill you? Threxel replied through Micah's split mouth. Because to kill me is to name me, and to name me is to make me real. So they buried me in stories, in lies, in sealed concrete. But you, you remembered. The chained man turned his head toward us. Tears poured from his sewn eyes. It was me. I opened the gate in 1952. I thought I could command it, control it. But Threxel doesn't grant wishes. He replaces. Suddenly, everything went cold. The stairs vanished. The walls turned to glass, and we saw the real prison, an endless ocean of floating souls, all trapped in cells made of memory. People who had disappeared from our world. Children, prisoners, explorers, priests, journalists, US.each screaming. Each forever. and Threxel in the middle, wearing 100 faces, devouring them one story at a time. "Run," Leah shouted. We fled through the bleeding cell door, back into the void, back into whatever was next. Micah didn't follow. His face melted, revealing the screaming soul inside the last echo of the real Micah. Then Threxel pulled him into the darkness. We were down to 3. The prison had no end, but we were getting closer, closer to Threxel's true name, and that was the only weapon we had left. The only weapon we had left. Time more. The prison shifted around us like a living wound, pulsing with memory and madness. The stairwell dissolved behind us. Doors appeared where walls had been. Walls bled. The lights no longer flickered, they whispered, and the whispers knew our names. Leah Winters, last seen April 4th, 2013, Glen Haven, Illinois, vanished without a trace. Jasmine Orellana, failed suicide attempt, 2019, hospital records sealed, never discharged. Ben Holloway, investigator, born 1988, died today. I stopped walking, today. Leah gripped my arm. Keep moving. Don't listen to it. But it was inside us now, in our blood, our breath. Threxel didn't just haunt this prison. It was the prison, Jasmine murmured. We're in its mind. We turned a corner and found ourselves back at the main hallway. The corridor where we had first found cell 13. But something was different down. Every other cell was open, and inside each, we saw ourselves dead, dying, begging, praying, hanged, flayed, hollowed. Different deaths for different versions of us. Other timelines, other realities, all ending in this place. I backed away, trembling. There has to be a way out, I whispered. Jasmine pointed to the far end of the corridor, where there hadn't been a door before. Now there was an elevator. Its surface was polished metal, but no buttons, no lights. Just a panel engraved with ancient lettering that shimmered beneath the surface, like something moving beneath frozen water. Leah touched it. The elevator opened. No sound, no mechanism, just an endless shaft filled with absolute black. I don't trust it, Jasmine said. That's not escape, it's descent. Leah turned to her, eyes wild. Then we go down. We end it. I nodded. We're not escaping this. We finish it. Or we become one of them. The doors didn't close behind us. They melted as we dropped. The walls of the elevator showed images. Children, drawing spirals on walls. Fire erupting in an old asylum. Men building the original prison with bare hands. Eyes gouged out. A church, deep in the woods. Crosses upside down. Priests bleeding from the eyes, chanting one name, Threxel. The descent stopped abruptly, and the doors slid open into a library. Not just any library. It was infinite miles of bookshelves twisting upward into the void like DNA strands. A spiral of madness and memory, and in the center, seated on a black throne carved from bone, was a librarian. She looked human until she smiled. Her teeth were runic characters. Jasmine fell to her knees. This is where the world forgot his name. The librarian nodded. All things that are too dangerous to be known are stored here. Threxel's name was once spoken by men, then it was buried, cut from language, stripped from minds. But, the 3 of you, you brought it back. You've each whispered pieces in dreams, seen syllables carved in ash. You carry fragments. She extended her hands. Give them. Leah stepped forward first. She whispered a phrase I couldn't understand, and part of her disappeared. Not her body, but her existence. I felt less of her, like she had been partially erased from the world. Then Jasmine whispered, something deeper, darker. The library shook, the books screamed, and she vanished completely. No scream, no body, just gone. The librarian looked at me. The last syllable is, in you, Ben Holloway. Speak it, and you will destroy him, but it will cost you more than your life. I hesitated. Behind me, I felt the presence. Threcull, not in a body this time. He was himself, a storm of memory, a shape of loss, the god of the forgotten, reassembling in the heart of his buried cathedral. Say it, and you will cease to exist. Say it, and you will free this world. But you will never have been born. I stepped to the edge of the black dais, the final altar, and saw the book laid out before me. My name was written on the cover. I opened it, empty. Only one thing left. To write. I spoke the name, not in a language, in unlanguage, in anti-thought, and the moment I did, the prison folded in on itself. It collapsed like lungs at the final breath, like paper burning backward, like a scream swallowed by silence. The infinite stairwells, the bleeding doors, the whispering walls, the dead. The dying, even Leah and Jasmine, all turned to dust. I fell through light and woke up in my bed. At home it was morning, phone beside me, calendar on the wall, everything normal, except I didn't exist. My name wasn't in my contacts, no social security, no birth record. No one remembered me, but the world was quiet again. The disappearances stopped. The 13th cell had been erased, and Threcull forgotten again. I walked the streets now, unseen, a ghost of a man who saved a world that no longer knows him. But sometimes, when the wind blows through alleyways, or churches, or abandoned prisons, you can still hear a whisper, the name is coming back, and when it does, I single quotes LLB waiting, years have, but time no longer means what it used to. Not for me. I walk among you, invisible in every way that matters, not dead, not alive, not forgotten, just unwritten. They say the world is at peace now. No more disappearances. Number whispers in the walls. Black Hollow Prison remains shuttered, scheduled for demolition, but the crews never return. Contractors vanish. Files are lost. GPS refuses to recognize the land. Something remains, and now it's waking up again. It started a week ago. A girl in Missouri drew spirals in her sleep. Her parents say she spoke in tongues and clawed her way through a wooden floorboard, screaming a name no one could pronounce. A pastor in Oregon flayed open his own chest during a sermon. He carved runes into his ribs, matching those I saw in the Library of the Forgotten. A psychiatrist in Maine went missing after treating a patient who described being hunted by a prison made of memory. They all muttered the same word in their final moments. Threcull. I tried to warn someone. I stood outside news stations. I sent anonymous emails to paranormal researchers. I left voice recordings with old colleagues. But they couldn't hear me, or see me, or read my words. I'd erased myself to destroy him, but now, because someone remembered, he's coming back. And worse, he's remembering himself. Last night, I woke in an alley. A pale girl stood over me. She couldn't have been more than 11. No shoes, blackened hands, eyes white with cataracts. She said only one sentence before vanishing into mist. The 13th cell has reopened. I returned to the only place I swore I'd never see again, Black Hollow. The land was fenced off, crawling, with vines and unnatural frost. Every tree surrounding it bent away from the prison like it was exhaling decay. The gate hung open as I crossed into the yard. I felt my body splintered, not physically, but metaphysically, like reality was trying to eject me, but it couldn't, because I had once belonged here. I had once destroyed him. Now, I would have to do it again. The structure had changed. It was no longer just brick and barbed wire. It had grown organic walls, pulsed with something close to skin. The air buzzed with language not meant to be spoken. Every window bled slow, black tears. The 13th cell wasn't hidden anymore. It was all that remained, inside. I followed a trail of humming, like bees in a tomb. I descended the stairwell. The steps stretched far longer than they should have, and then I saw it. the cell door. Except now, there were hundreds of them, all marked 13, spiraling like a nautilus into the center of the earth. I chose the one at the very heart. It pulsed, it breathed. I opened it. He was there, not as a man, not even as a god, but as a whole, in reality. A tear in existence, like staring into the mouth of something that had chewed on forgotten civilizations, that had swallowed languages, that fed on the minds of those who dared to remember him. Threxel spoke without sound. You unmade me once, but memory is a disease. Someone always remembers. I am what waits beneath guilt. I am the scream trapped in a sealed tomb. I am the line at the end of every forbidden book. He stepped forward. My body froze, down my mind bled. My name, what was left of it, burned from my skin. I fell to my knees, but something answered. A voice in my head that wasn't mine. Leah, you saved us once, Ben. Now let us help you finish it. All around me, the faces of those lost began to appear. Leah, Jasmine, dozens, hundreds. All the people the prison had swallowed. They emerged from the walls, like echoes given shape. Their memories are shared. Memory was the only weapon left. I stood. You exist because we forget, but I remember. I remember everything. And with that, I spoke his true name. Not the cursed syllables, but the original name. The first name. The human name. The one buried deepest in the library. The one that made Threxel what he once was a man. As I spoke it, the prison screamed. Not the walls, not the stones, but the soul of the place. Threxel flailed, twisting through identities, trying to escape the truth of who he once was. A man who tried to defy death, who opened a rift into something ancient, and became less than human in the process. He was a curse we gave ourselves, and now I took him back. The 13th cell collapsed. Every spiral snapped inward. Every scream became silence. Every name was erased, including mine. I awoke on a park bench in Chicago. No memory, no past, just fragments. A burn mark on my hand shaped like a spiral. A name I can't pronounce. A dream of a prison that never existed. And when I pass alleyways, sometimes I hear whispers, Threxel, but this time, I don't speak it. I just walk, because some names are meant to be forgotten forever. Be forgotten forever.